Kizamde, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to another JoJo chapter review. This time we'll be taking a look at chapter 22 of the JOJOLands titled Dolphin Bank's Debt Collection Part 1. Last time, the gang started their plan to impersonate the bank employee Yokohama to collect Akka Howler's debt, while Akka met 3 of his subordinates that swore to protect him. This time we start with the team on their way to Howler's mansion, where Charming Man will disguise himself for them to personally collect the debt. On the way, we get some very interesting conversation with Charming Man, with the others remarking on his rough skin. Charming Man says that his skin is separate from his standability and that his family and the others in his home village have the same type of skin, along with being resistant to heat and cold and having long lifespans. He says that it may have something to do with the environment, since the creatures that live nearby, like earthworms and moles, are also rock-like. He thinks back to his brother Mauka's disappearance and says that in his village, mothers teach the children a saying that says, "People that spend tonight laughing with family will meet the same family even after they're reborn." Now this is all a lot, so we should stop for a minute and think about what we've just learned. People have suspected since his first introduction that Charming Man may be a rock human like the ones we've seen in JoJoLands. Now what's interesting is we have multiple points both in favor and against this being the case. First off, Charming Man's rough skin and his people's long lifespans and rock-like characteristics definitely point to this idea. But the points against that are also significant, mainly that Charming Man's people have families and relatives, while rock humans are almost entirely self-reliant in their early stages of life and are all abandoned by their mothers. So it would seemingly be a contradiction that Charming Man has a brother at all other than a twin, and that he would be mentioning mothers when speaking about his village. So I don't quite think Charming Man is a rock human. But I think it would be foolish to ignore all of these repeated references to rocks we've gotten, between the rock humans, rock disease, rock animals, the equivalent exchange turning things to rock, the lava rock, and finally this new line of rock people. I think all of these things are definitely connected in some way, and that down the line we may learn that the rock humans and Charming Man's people both relate to a common origin. And it may very well be possible that some rock humans did learn to form more human-like societal structures instead of living completely solitary lives. Moving on, the group arrives at Akka's residence, which is on board a giant yacht. They go over what Meryl May told them, which is that the state government is prosecuting Akka for using the North Slope for illegal arms manufacturing and for acts of terrorism against the congressman's daughter, and so they're using a court order to seize the rights to the land. The actual seizing of the land is set to happen within 72 hours, so in that time they need to transfer the rights to the bank to collect them using Yokohama's documents. Since the government is only trying to seize it to investigate Howler's illegal activities, if the bank takes it first, they won't actually need to seize it. Charming Man transforms and heads to the yacht, along with Dragona disguised as a bank employee and Jodio posing as a part-time gopher, while Paco and Usagi wait and keep watch. On the yacht, Akka and his lawyer Key West are waiting for them. Jodio and Usagi get a text message sent to all students reminding them to submit a history report. They recognize the message as a code from Meryl May and determine that she's telling them that they're close to being found out. At the school, Ningbo and Lam Chabang arrive to investigate their lead on Paco's identity. Meryl May evades their questions, but Lam Chabang is able to sense that she's afraid using her nematodes. Meryl sends out another coded message, and while they can't find out the meaning, they find it suspicious enough to try to detain Meryl for questioning. We get our first look at Ningbo's stand ability, which allows him to start inflating the keyboard and then Meryl's arm, causing them to float. Usagi reads the new message, which tells them that 2 people are pursuing them. The chapter ends with Paco deciding to head back to the school to help Meryl May. This was another really great and eventful chapter. So much happened this time around, with us not only starting the new plan, but also learning a ton about Charming Man and some of our new enemy stand users. I'm really looking forward to what's being set up for this arc, since we seem to have a fight about to break out with Lam Chabang and Ningbo using their abilities on Meryl May, and Paco heading over to help. So far we don't know if Lam Chabang has any kind of combat abilities, and we may also finally see what kind of power Meryl May has. With Meryl currently at the school, we also have no idea what exactly Lulu is up to. She's seemingly locked up back at the boutique, but with nobody stuck watching her, she might also prove to be a problem down the line. And then at the same time, the others have to go through with their plan to collect the debt, and we also have no idea what Akka and Key West are capable of doing. And then on top of both of those conflicts, we also have Usagi in the middle, who just might show up like a wild card to help either of them. I'm really enjoying how Araki is handling the balance of so many different characters at once without any of them feeling underwhelming. I've been impressed so far with how he was able to build such a compelling group of protagonists who all have interesting character traits and abilities, and then on top of that, what has so far been a great lineup of villains. Maybe what I'm looking forward to most is just seeing our protagonist interact with Akka for the first time, since with where we are in the story, he's our first candidate for being the main villain of the part. In other JoJo news, last month we got the release of the newest issue of the JoJo magazine, which has 2 new manga chapters and the usual ton of extra behind-the-scenes stuff. I recently put out my video where I do a deep dive on everything it had to offer, so I recommend checking that out. Our other big announcement recently is the new The Spokushibe Rohan movie adapting the first Rohan story at a confessional. I've been a huge fan of the Rohan TV drama series since it began back in 2020, and its first movie adapting the Louvre story was a really good addition. Like that movie, this one will also be shooting overseas, this time in Italy. Like the original story, it's going to involve Rohan hearing about an incident from someone in a confession booth, and will presumably follow the same plot as the manga, with the man having to catch popcorn in his mouth. I'm interested in seeing how that story is going to be filled out to a full movie though. The Louvre story benefited from being longer than the rest and having some potential to flesh out the flashbacks to Rohan's youth. This story was notable for Rohan not actually doing anything in it and just being a bystander that hears it from someone else. So we might actually end up seeing Rohan get roped into the whole ordeal as well. And we also have to account for Izumi, who always winds up part of the plot in some way. The movie is releasing in Japanese theaters in May, but I'd keep an eye out since the last one did actually get an English screening, but only at one location in Canada. The Louvre movie made its way to Prime Video in September of that year, so I'm expecting the same for this movie as the most realistic time that we'll be able to see it in English. If you want to keep up with my future videos, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell. You can also join the Ham and Beat Discord to get notified on new uploads, chapter releases, and any important JoJo news. Finally, I'd appreciate if you help support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube member below. All supporters get their name featured at the end of the video and can submit viewer questions that I answer at the end of my main videos. You can join at any tier and then submit your questions in the Patreon community chat or in the members-only community post on YouTube. I try to answer one question per video, so feel free to submit as many as you want. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Doorbell, Crayon, Rigovids, Zucato, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Sponge Cake, Cakext, Feliciano Rabaja, Rayana Meme, Christian McDonough, Emmanuel Etienne, Pulse Dog, Zach Greenfield, FIFO, Rob Goliath, Jacob Smith, Big T, Minty, Gold, Red Hot Mayonnaise, Monticelli, Zenkai, Royal Slush, Keenan, Perry, Noland, John Braun, Cho Henshin, Saint Bobo, Max Verstappen, Kira Not Yushikage, John Garcia, Allegor, and Crankin' Blank.